Welcome to this next episode of the Best Leads podcast. I'm super excited today to have the mighty team from American Central Transport. I want to thank you all for being here. And for people who don't know this team, let me introduce them. We've got Phil Wilt, President and COO. And we've got Elisha Grayson, Director of Recruiting and Queen of All, if I understand that correctly. And then Brian Mathews, VP of Operations. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
So first, congratulations again on hitting the top 20. You just keep dinging out those Best Fleets wins, and it's well deserved given everything that I've seen that the company is doing. And one of the things that I find very interesting is that the robustness of your programs suggests that you're a massive company. Like this is, what is this, coming out of a 10,000 truck company? No, this is, I think you're like just under 300 trucks. Mm-hmm. And yet there's all this stuff going on. So this could be partly a recruiting video, but here we go. I want to talk a little bit about work-life balance that you want to get for your drivers. And one of the things that jumped out, you got a new life coach this year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who kicked that off? Who's to blame for that?
Probably
you don't say Phil, come on.
It was actually a collaborative effort within our organization. I mean, we had read an article, and it was really getting at the heart of what we see, where we see drivers struggling. And it was really around financial. You make a lot of money, but maybe there's not a lot of money at the end of the week or the month. Maybe someone hits high medical, like they have something and they become disqualified, and what are they going to do? Mm-hmm. And so I think our heart in it was, if we're going to really partner with our employees and really help them out, we want to find a way to help them out beyond all the other programs we do with the physical, the financial, and even the mental. And so knowing that being a driver on the road can be really tough and challenging. And so we wanted to put together a position that does that. And so we have created a life coach role on top of our corporate chaplain role. And that individual is supporting our fleet, in life is what we're trying to do. And obviously, as we do that, Rick, our goal is that we retain our drivers, because we don't want drivers to have to get off the road or leave us. And so if we can help them through those things, our goal is that they will want to stay with our organization. And the bottom line is everyone deserves to be happy. And so that's really was a lot of what we were trying to do as we created the role this year.
Amazing. One of the things that is sort of something I've always been paying attention to is the financial literacy of drivers. Is that historically, right, the money comes in, money comes out. But in terms of future planning and basically balancing your household budget, and certainly if you're an owner-op, balancing your business, there's often been a deficit of education there. And so see, leaning into that financial literacy. I mean, literally everyone needs that. They're starting to teach it in schools now. And it just makes sense. And the massive difference when you start to see the savings in your bank account go up, this is just that sense of relief, and it touches on that physical wellness and the mental wellness, where you can just sort of, that monkey's off your back, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the point of it. And we've had one iteration of a class. We're doing classes through Zoom for our drivers and their families, so that they can, you have to kind of meet where they're at, and so that would make sense. If you're on the road, you could still do that. So we offer a class. We're getting ready to do our next one in coming up here next month. And then on top of that, then there's pieces to support them, the budgeting, the looking at debt, savings, those types of things. And so we have worksheets that even show, you can put in your miles and what your rate is and how much you're earning. And so this is how much I got to work with. And then what is my debt and how do I pay debt down? And so those are, the coach really comes in then alongside the individual, if they'll allow, and coach them up to help them kind of through it. We all need someone to kind of help us through that stuff. I've been through it when I was younger in my life, early in marriage. We're trying to figure out how do you stretch the money, and so we did that. And so those are kind of pieces. And the other thing we're really encouraging is 401k, that people are putting money away. We do a match, and so we're making sure that they, we're really getting ready to focus heavy on that, and we just want people to have money in there for a rainy day or for retirement, and be planning for all ahead. So we're trying to do that whole thing. And you're right. I mean, I think it's trying to find a way to help drivers, but we also have this for our office and our maintenance team as well. And so we all can use the help. There's never enough money, it seems like. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
And you
so
you hinted at something twice there. You said meet them where they're at and when they're ready. And there is that readiness piece, I suppose, across a whole different set of places in the company, but that readiness to have those conversations. Some people just aren't there yet. So just knowing that those things are available, that can be just part of that road as well.
And that's the hard part too, is meeting the driver, because drivers, they're out on the road, away from the office. They don't see things daily like we do people in the office where we can have things. So the life coach, to be effective, has got to reach out to them and be there for them to know and build that trust. So I'm not just going to sign up and be like, here, teach me something. So that life coach is partnering with them and calling them and visiting with them as much as possible, so the driver were able to meet with them.
So I love this. First of all, I love this. And I feel like this is something that a lot of companies could do. And I say that because I know that there are people who watch this podcast specifically to find out what Best Fleets are doing, right? What is it? What kind of little angle have you got? What little next thing are you doing? And so something like Life Coach is something that a lot of companies could put into place pretty easily. Yeah.
I think most companies got a traditional EAP program and do things, but that requires that individual to reach out to do it.
Right.
Life coach says we're taking a different angle and we want to give them the resource, because you're not going to pick up the phone and call. Maybe you just don't feel comfortable. So I think we all kind of pat ourselves on the back and think, oh, we got a EAP program and we will partner with whatever that can help us out. But bringing somebody in-house is really the difference, is how we see it going to make a difference for our drivers and our office associates.
I think if you're going to talk about, that's so true. I think if you're going to talk about personal stuff, particularly if I want to get in and talk about my financial needs, or maybe, because I think when you say I need financial help, you feel like you're failing. You're not. You just need to figure out, like, how do I do this better? And, or if I'm struggling with kind of my physical and I'm concerned about the fact of I may lose my credentials, my CDL, that's bad. So I feel like I'm failing. I need to talk to one. So what we've been trying to do with our life coaches, and Brian's hitting on this, is that we do outbound calls every month. We're calling all of our drivers, checking with them. And then, he's also at our events and that kind of stuff as well. Because if I'm not known, I'm not going to share those things, And so,
right.
So that's what Neil does for us, is he's really getting to be known. We do monthly driver calls. He's on those calls. So we're trying to put a face and a name and a voice with them. And he actually starts talking to our drivers day one. He will actually do outbound calls to them weekly for their first 6 months with us. And then this program, we slow that down and we let the driver set up the pace of what that looks like. So, it's again, if you're not known, you're not going to share those things. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the things I'm concerned about or things I feel like I'm failing about, unless I feel like you know me and I can trust you. And so that's really where this program starts from. And then that opens up doors to be able to be that, person to talk to when I'm struggling or I hit a wall. So that's how it works.
And it's always about finding like the right person for that role is really big. So like Neil, he's like a ball of energy. Like he's so easy to talk to. He's so relatable. He was here not too long ago and he was walking around. He's like, I hear a guy around the corner and I know that voice. So like you get so excited because he would know the voices and then he would go up and like introduce himself. And but he's just like such a great person. And that's what you really have to have for that role.
Yeah.
So the trick then for that and for communication generally is just to keep showing up, and then eventually they're going to ping back to you. And so this is a question I had much later on, but I'm gonna pot it in here. And it had to do with when drivers leave because they think the grass is greener, and sometimes it's pride that stops them from from coming back. And so how do you manage that, right? So they're in a place where they feel like they can't, but they really can. How do you
So
break
we
that down?
have a few different ways. Sometimes we'll send them like a letter that's just saying, hey, like, how's it going? You know, kind of inviting them back, letting them know they are eligible for rehire. We have recruiters that will give them a call after they've been gone for maybe a few weeks, few months, and just check in, see how it's going. We have this one recruiter, she's been here for what, Phil, over 20 years now. And she's just great at that. She really connects with these drivers while they're here. And has a connection with them for years. And then if they leave, she waits a little bit, you know, gives them some time, and then she reaches out like, hey, how's it going? Like, are you happy? And if they're happy, like, that's okay. That's great. Because sometimes they come back even years later.
Oh, really?
What, if I could add to that, I think I'm gonna maybe take some credit here for our leadership and our team, for our culture. It may not just be the recruiters reaching out to them. The driver, his experience here, we hope was good, even if they left and they're just trying to better themselves. So maybe they left due to a family reason, or maybe they had a rough patch here and they left. We treat drivers differently here, and they're going to remember that, whether they were, for whatever reason they left. So I feel like that seed's planted in their head. And so, yeah, it takes a lot to call back and say, I made the wrong decision to come back. But they wouldn't do that if they didn't trust us and like us to begin with. So I think my team, dispatchers, after hours, customer service, our payroll department, our shop, all has this huge piece of that. We take care of our drivers. And it pays dividends, not just while they're here, but if they leave and then come back. So when Elisha's team reaches out to them later, they remember those things. So it's a big sell from day one. And I think that helps us. I know there's not probably any numbers that talk about how many drivers are rehired, but just from my experience at previous places I've been, we see more rehires coming back here percentage wise than my other places. And I think that's a testament to what ACT puts together for drivers.
And so when I look at what I imagine the experience is there for drivers throughout their time there, however long that is. So if I look at the traction program, which I want to ask about, the fact time Zoom call, the fact that you've got 20 trainers, plus a drive cam coach, plus an onboarding coach, plus a student trainer coach, like all this stuff built in to support you. As I said before off camera, you got to have a lineup at the door of people wanting to work there. This is the number of things that you seem to have managed to build in. But first, can I ask about the traction program, about what that is and what it looks like?
Yeah. So we have a student recruiter that's dedicated directly to our traction program. So she goes out and visits schools. Usually there's just a handful of schools that we work with. The school does have to be approved by us as a company to get on the list to recruit drivers from. And so we have one school that actually visits our facility, and they come out and tour, and they love that. You know, they come in, they have donuts, they get to see like our whole facility, our quiet room, kind of see how we're set up and how they have access back into the building to talk to like payroll and everything. And they love that. We have a hall of fame where there's all these drivers that have won different awards, and so they just love coming to the facility and checking it out. But yeah, she goes out and visits schools, and then starts the recruiting process. And then when they come on board, it's a 6-week program. So they go with one trainer for 3 weeks, and then they go with a different trainer for 3 weeks. And so yeah, they're out there on the road with a trainer for 6 weeks, and then they come in and they do a road test, and they graduate, and we announce it in front of everyone and hand them the keys, and it's really exciting.
And that trainer switch halfway through, that's by design, right? Just to get a fresh set of eyes on there.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we feel like sometimes, you know, if you're with one trainer, you're just, I don't know, we love the fact that we have a diverse group of trainers. And so someone may be really strong at backing skills or route planning, or just, you know, customer care. And someone else may be better at, you know, these things. And so by giving them those experiences, it allows them to really round out their training. And we try to empower our trainers as well, so that, if they say, gosh, this individual's doing really well, but they're really struggling with backing. So they may come in and be between drivers, and one of our in-house trainers will work with them for half a day out on our yard, and they're just going to work on, mechanics of backing, and do that over and over, so that they kind of learn that, get that muscle memory about how to do that. And so we, even though we have a set time period, we also look though at each individual and say, you're an individual, what do you need to be successful? Maybe their life on the road. And so that's where our life coach comes in, but also these trainers are really valuable about, like, maybe how to do meal prep, or how to live on the road with your family at home, and what's that look like, and all that, because it's all the whole package. It's not just driving and getting miles. It's about keeping your family happy and together, and those types of things as well. So that trainer is doing lots of things, and then they work with our staff here as well, to kind of say, and by the way, the trainer gets to evaluate the trainee, and the trainee gives us evaluation on the trainer. And I think that also keeps it helps us keep it fresh. And then we get to have conversations with maybe trainers, like, hey, let's talk about that, and maybe a different approach about how that person felt, that type of stuff as well. So we're trying to be very in tune to our student experience, but also that our trainer experience is good too. And because if you can't do both, you're not going to have longevity in the program. And we really want, like, this is our way of investing in the industry and trying to get more good new people entering our industry. And so it's one of the ways that we try to do it that's really kind of blue ribbon standard, kind of with that. So.
And our trainers, like, the set of trainers that we have are just like amazing. They really do make our trainees feel like they are joining a family. Like, I know some of our trainers, like, will cook them dinner, like, out on the road, and show them how to cook, like, on their truck and stuff, how they can, one
Have them
guy,
come to their house.
yeah, let them come stay at their house if they're driving through, meet their family. Make sure that they get their private time and space, like, while they're out there together, like, if they need some time alone, like, they are really accommodating and really take care of our trainees. Which,
And I don't think it just
don't
ends
hear
there either.
that.
I mean, most of them are even coaching afterwards, like,
Yeah.
call me, you have questions, you get to a shipper that you've never been to, and you feel uncomfortable, or you're not sure what to do or where to park, or they just become a continued mentor for them. And for me, that says that we're getting the right people to be our trainers, that really care about it. So yeah, I think it's been successful for us.
So I'm assuming that you already know this, but the kinds of relationships that you're describing don't always happen. So if I sort of randomly pull anecdotes and stories from, the trucker subreddit, right, and people talking about their experiences, the really horrible experiences with trainers. So clearly not everyone is doing this. Was this approach to making sure you got the right people, the right trainers in place? Was that like one person who decided to put that into place? Was that sort of organic growth? Maybe we've got to tweak this along the way. Maybe this is my question. How did you get there that it works so well?
Well, it's evolved. I mean, I'm going to miss some pieces, so Phil, you can speak up too. But yeah, we didn't always, the way we just described it isn't how it always was done. So the evaluations and the number of trainers and the time frame and how many schools we recruited and how many we hire each week, and we've been through bad trainers. I mean, not that they're bad people, just not a good fit for what they need to do to be how we want to educate a new driver. So it was really a lot of learning as we go, and we all took what we knew from our past experiences of what we wanted, how we thought it should look like, but none of us are too proud to say, well, that didn't work or that works. We need to, keep doing more of it or less of it. We really just took feedback, from students, and took feedback from the trainers and the safety department. Everybody has their hands in it to get it where it's at. And I don't think anything is set in stone for it to going forward. The industry evolves, drivers evolve, and things change. But I think it's been evolving. But we certainly had a team of people put all their ideas in on what we needed it to look like. And it looks different than how we initially drew it up, Phil. But yeah, add to that if I'm missing anything.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I think you're exactly right. I mean, we are not afraid to make change. And I think with our size, we change on a dime. So if something's not working, like we're not so prideful that we would say, oh, we've already set the course and we're not going to change it. We would never say that. I mean, we change and tweak stuff all the time to make it better and admit, if we made a mistake, let's fix it and let's do it right and have it be the best overall experience. I think what you said is true, Rick. I mean, there's so many unfortunate experiences out there. And so we've just tried to really kind of keep those things in mind. And to me, it does really come back to our core values. I mean, I think I've worked, this is my third company I've worked for in my career. And I think it's the only place I've ever worked where we've really lived out our core values. I mean, we use those in how we make decisions, whether we should do something or not do something, how we treat people. We say accountability, but we mean that. We say family is one of ours. And one of my favorite things to kind of put out there is that you don't get to choose your blood family, but you do get to choose your work family. And so we have to work every day to earn the right for them to continue to drive for us and want to be part of the ACT family. And so so again, you may have a bad family member. Well, so that means we have to kind of keep ourselves accountable on all levels so that we are kind of keeping that environment that is respectful of everyone, that keeps people accountable. We have fun. We have a lot of fun, but you have to also like be a good family member. And and so that's part of it too, kind of with it. And I think all that, because we put that as the base, it helps us live out all of our programs and how we do things here.
And a few times that you mentioned getting feedback, and y'all are not shy about finding out what people are thinking.
Yeah.
So what's the fact time call?
You'll take it, Brian. Me too. You're Mr. Fact Time.
I'm not. We've been doing fact time. We just had our 50th episode just last month, so it's kind of evolved as well too. But fact time was born out of COVID. That's where it was at. I think as an organization, we were always looking for ways to communicate with our drivers and do things. And this was a piece that you're missing, something that is on a regular cadence schedule where drivers could be here, and that COVID allowed Zoom, where people knew what that was. So we started that and out of COVID times, and it's continued on ever since. And it's just our format's pretty simple. Phil starts it off and gives us information, state of the company address, state of the industry, kind of what we're seeing there. I have a piece, I talk about operations, safety comes in and gives CSA updates, DOT updates, different things happening in that realm of freight securement, whatever the case may be. Recruiting, our life coach is now a part of it. HR, as we get into open enrollment, as we get into different things around that. So we get the whole company together, the shop, is there things going on with our equipment? So it's there for all the drivers to join in. We record it as a podcast and as a Zoom video, so they can later watch it if they miss it, or go back and find things that they missed that they were listening to. So that's kind of the format, but it was really just a way to keep reaching our drivers. We're always trying to think of ways to get to them. This was a way that's been successful, and drivers look forward to it. There's obviously time for drivers to ask questions and put us on the spot and ask about things that are going on or things that they don't like, talk about that feedback. So it can be fun. And some nights everybody's kind of just in a dull and it's kind of quiet and we're just, feel like we're talking to them. But afterwards, the next day, they'll stop in and ask questions. They may be a little shy to ask in front of the group, but they'll follow up with Phil the next day or catch him and say, hey, you talked about that last week. Can you tell me more about that? So we know it's reaching them, and it's a fun time for us.
Yeah. It's raw and unfiltered, meaning it is as real as it gets. And, you never know, like we all have our bullets of what we want to talk about and we want to share and make sure they're aware of. But, it is unscripted and you never know where it's going to go. But I love that. And yeah, episode 50, we always do it every month, no matter what. I mean, sometimes it's hard. We may be on vacation or whatever, but we all still try to rally and maybe someone will absorb. But, there's been times we've been on the road. I've been on the road traveling and we still plug in and do it because it's really important that we offer that real open conversation with all of our drivers, no matter where they're at at that point in time during the month. So,
And when you ask those questions, you got to be ready for the answer, right? So as Brian was saying, sometimes
yeah,
put you on the spot.
It does.
And not every leadership team is in a place where they feel comfortable enough and humble enough and open enough to be able to respond to that and not just take it personally.
yeah, I guess that's true. It is sometimes like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Where is it going to go? But I do think, I think one of the things is we try to be transparent, as much as we possibly can be. And so, like, for instance, freight, we've been in a transportation, a trucking recession for 2-ish years. And so, we're raw and transparent about that and what that means and what we're doing about it and what we encourage them to do about it and that type of thing. Because that's really hard when we're coming off of the best freight I've ever seen in my entire career. And now we're going down to the longest stretch of dry, of freight, and so so it's really, I don't know any other way to do it than to be transparent and honest about it. And I think drivers respect that. I personally do. I'd rather you just be honest with me than try to tell me a story and not be true. And so I think all of that, along with just how we do things, pays dividends in retention with drivers.
Right. So if I'm a driver watching this and I'm thinking, okay, what's ACT got going here? And we talked a little bit of wellness, talked a lot about communication, but then I had a list of recognition programs. So rewards for business suggestions, recruiting other drivers, Highway Angel, Act Hero program, thumbs up, new hire of the quarter. Like you're also giving a lot to them. So you're not just being open to, it's like we're gonna recognize you across a whole bunch of different metrics.
Yeah, that to me is very personal. I just know what being in this industry for as long as I have, drivers make tremendous sacrifices being away from their families. So just a small token, recognizing their achievements is important to us. So, drivers are sometimes shy and don't want to be recognized, but we try to find ways and look for ways to keep recognizing them through safety fronts, through productivity, through MPG, through all the things that they can do. Recognizing their successes is what builds that culture around here, where it's just not, I'm here doing this for the sake only, but we recognize you and your efforts. We just got back from the truck driving championships in Missouri. We took 4 drivers, their families are invited. It's a stressful weekend of them competing, but they get to step away, go to Branson, Missouri with their family and recognize it. So, I mean, it's a big deal. So, we look for those things and we're always looking for something new that we can recognize a driver for, that means something, not just to give away an award, but that there's something significant behind it.
Right. And so there's another space in there. So this driver is still watching, recognition, great. But what about some of the problems I face day to day? And this is something that jumped out at me. Irritant pay.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, what is that? Yeah. First of all, what is irritant pay?
Yeah. So that's probably a 2000. That's been around with us for a while. 2018, maybe 19, is when we implemented that. That's something. So I'm constantly, what are things that we can improve and do differently around here? Alicia's got her stuff. Phil's got his. My ops managers. So we just got this list of things, and when we meet together, discuss driver pay and things that are coming up. This is sort of a catch-all. Little things that drivers do that they don't get compensated for, but it's always just been part of their job. Well, it takes away time because they're traditionally just paid by the mile, right? So just, simple things, but they take up time. Searching for trailers when they're in a big lot, as you can imagine, there's 200 trailers there and they're all white. And I say, go find 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, that seemed on my paper and dispatch, that should be like a 5-minute job, but it's not a 5-minute job because they may be buried. I got to move trailers out of the way to get to them. I got to roll the dollies up. I may have to drop my loaded trailer and hook up to an empty, move that one out of the way, then get back to my trailer. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So it's just sort of a catch-all that we use to help compensate the drivers for a non-traditional accessorial pay.
Right. So you've got, right. So irritant pay, tweener pay, pay increases, layover pay, like you just So when
Yeah.
I look in the media specific to the industry, and there's all this back and forth, well, it's just kind of the way it is for drivers, you don't get paid for this, don't get paid for that, and y'all have found a very straightforward solution: just pay them.
Yeah.
Well, we just call it what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it does irritate them when you ask, and it would any of us. And so if you're going to ask me to do something, our thought is, it's not, we're not paying you by the minute or the hour. What we're trying to do is everything you do, we're paying you for it. We're compensating you for it. And it was kind of funny when we created it, we just said, what is this? Well, it's irritant pay because I'm irritated that I have to, but gosh, if we'll compensate. And I just think it's a way of valuing people, quite honestly. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm gonna pay you for doing the things that we need you to do. Maybe that a customer has put us in a situation, or a yard hostler, or whatever the case may be. And so these are things that I realize that this is kind of going above and beyond what the glamorous part of driving, but it's the needed part. And so we just call it what it is. It's irritant pay, and we're going to pay you for that. And thank you for doing that,
Yeah. So again, to the drivers watching this, if you want to know some of the details, if I go into this and I look up ACT, and basically if I go to a chart and I find ACT and I look all the way across and I see the point values adding up for each of these questions, and you just keep hitting it on communication, on driver wellness, on support, all these things, the proof is right there, right? You are, like you say, you're living your values. It's just so very impressive. I have an industry question. What's that, Brian?
I said, you can't have empty promises. That's it. Because we've all been there, been told that. So we're going to do what we say.
Yeah. I have an industry question. I've asked this of a few different people. Collectively, I imagine you've got, a few years of history in the industry, right? You've seen some things, and there is a mood in the media about what the new brand of drivers is like, right? What are the young ones like? And some will say, well, the older drivers, the older generation, they really know what they're doing, and these new ones are too soft. And then there's a reverse that's saying, no, actually the new ones are really, really nimble, and we have a harder time getting through to the older generation of drivers. What sort of changes have you seen over the years in terms of what drivers experience, what they expect, and overall how they approach working for you?
You want to start, Elisha? You're on
Yeah,
the front end of all this.
Well, I was sitting here trying to think, and I mean, every driver's different. So I like hate putting it like in a bucket. Like we have like this, it popped in my head instantly where we have this newer, younger driver who he is running like more miles than anybody in the entire company. And I've always kind of watched, like our trainees like pay, and then like when they go on the road, like this guy's doing so well that I think he's gonna blow the last guy out of the water as far as how much he's gonna get paid. He's just doing so great. What I do see a lot, and then of course your recruiting is really frustrating, is people are so quick to leave. So maybe they come in here, and whenever I'm talking to our new employees, the experienced drivers, the students, everybody, I tell them, I said, this company is huge on communication. So if you see something wrong, if there's something you don't like, if something doesn't make sense, talk to somebody, talk to your DSM, talk to recruiting, talk to Neil, talk to somebody, because more than likely we can either give you a reason why it's the way it is, or it's something we can look at fixing and changing and making better. But that's really what I've seen, is just drivers are very quick to leave. And it's not necessarily young drivers, old drivers. It's just like this new thing that drivers are very quick to leave. And that's something that I've seen that's a really big change.
Yeah. I think those are all really good. One thing I would say is work-life balance. I think I see a trending of, I love the young folks that are joining our industry. First of all, they're our future. They're really good with technology. And And I mean, they're quick and so and not jaded, like, you know, they're fresh. It's a new perspective on industry. And I love that. But work-life balance is really important. And so it pushes us, who has been a traditional irregular route over the road trucking company, to really look at customers and freight options and engineered and dedicated. You know, we're working more and more to provide what they want. And so I like it because it's pushing us to be better and to change with what the employee force is looking for. I don't think drivers are any different than I see on our other side of our employment as well. I mean, everyone wants work-life balance. People want to keep, you know, perspective. They want to be compensated well for what they do, be treated well. And so drivers just, man, you know, we respect you because you're out there every day dealing with the motoring public. It's a hard job, and yet undervalued by the general consumer. And we highly value drivers, but I think people during pandemic really raised up the value of drivers. All of a sudden, everyone understands, wow, without a truck driver, we don't have all those supplies that we rely on. And I think, unfortunately, we've kind of slipped back a little bit after that. And, you know, to me, drivers should be raised up. I mean, they are the backbone of our country. They keep the products moving, whether you're in the US or Canada or wherever the case may be, and across the world. I mean, this is a global thing, and transportation is the backbone of this. So we should be very proud of what we do and celebrate that. So, you know, we as an industry have got to change and find out what the driver wants and goes from there. I will also say, for the more senior tenured drivers, those folks are warriors, man. They somehow in their families, they are proud about being out on the road, being out long periods of time, about all the things they've experienced. I mean, and I love our warriors. I mean, they're the stories, the things they've seen, the things they've experienced. We can learn a lot from them. And so I just think, I mean, we value them all and we need them all. But it is changing, you know, the world is changing, you know, transportation is changing, and we just have to meet what folks want if we're going to be relevant in this industry.
I would add that I've been doing trucking since 2002, and new drivers today are thrown into trucks and have things that drivers 20 years ago didn't have, or was very rudimentary. So there's this older dynamic, guys that call themselves, I'm an old school trucker. And these are guys that have been around since I've been here. And I don't feel like I'm old school, but when they throw that out, I'm like, old. So you got guys that have been through really almost no technology, right? So whether it be manuals, very little onboard communication systems, you know, in some fleets 20 plus years ago, certainly no collision avoidance technology back then, or if it was very rudimentary, just lane, you know. So there's this technology. You have cell phones now, you know. So these new drivers have all this stuff that guys just really a short period of time ago, they learned through all that. The ELD changes, the 2000 hours of service change, the 14-hour rule, all these different things that we're dealing with now, that the new guys coming in, that's just normal to them. So these other ones look down and think, well, these guys didn't have it hard. They didn't have all these things that we got to do, whether they have it too easy now. So there's still that dynamic of the old school and the new people, but there is a mix, and it's going to keep changing, as we know, whatever it may go to. But the new drivers, old drivers, they're all dealing with a whole set of things that didn't even exist 20 years ago.
Right.
This might show my age a little bit, but with drivers, I had a driver in here the other day and it made me laugh so hard. He's like, yeah, we used to have to like find a truck stop and then find a phone, one of the pay phones to like call in and talk to her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Like back when you guys didn't have cell phones, that's what you had to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Find a
Doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Well, ACT folks, I really want to thank you. When we run the Best Fleets program, it really is about finding those best practices in the industry, and those practices that will, what we hope ultimately will become best practices, but right now are leading the pack. And I feel like you are doing all these things that If we were lucky enough, everyone would be doing them, but they're not yet. But I want to thank you all for showing up and showing off, and just being great for your drivers and your whole team.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. And honestly, for Curious Edge and the Best Fleets program, I mean, I would just say 7 years in a row, but we were honorable mention before that, and we were working before that, but this program makes us better. And I just want to acknowledge that it allows us to evaluate ourselves and evolve and become better. And the program has helped us do that. And so we appreciate that, what it's doing for the industry, and acknowledging those carriers that are really pace setters out there. Yeah, I want to see everyone do it because I think drivers deserve it. But we can't control everyone, but what we can do is control how our experience. And so I think your program has helped us become better. So thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us every single year. And like I say, showing off a little bit. So thank you again. I really appreciate you joining us for this episode. And I wish you all success for the coming, hopefully better freight year.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.